try to use that. They're not using.
Good evening. I'd like to call the March 31st Borough Council meeting to order. Thank you all for coming out tonight and participating in our meeting. First thing I'd like to do is turn to the mayor regarding an invocation for this evening.
Thank you, President Hain. Yes, tonight we have Missy Dibler, chaplain from Lititz UPMC, to lead us in an invocation.
Please bow your heads. Father, I pray a blessing on the leaders in this community. I pray that they hear your voice as they make decisions, that they follow your guidance, that they have a passion for people, for truth, and for righteousness. And I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Missy. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Next, we will look at approval of the minutes for the February 24th and the March 10th meeting. If I could have separate motions for those.
Motion to approve the February 4th council meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay,
Now the March 10th.
I go again.
Sure.
Motion to approve March 10th council minute meetings.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we approve both of the minutes. Next, we are going to recess our meeting for this evening, and we are going to have two hearings that we have on our schedule. The first is a conditional use hearing for 360 North Broad Street for the demolition of a barn. Before we get started, I have some procedural items to read aloud. The applicant will be given the opportunity to present its request to the Borough Council, during which time the Borough Council may ask questions of the applicant. Formal rules of evidence will not apply. However, Borough Council does reserve the right to limit repetitive, redundant information and questions that have no relevance to the issue at hand. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation, parties represented by counsel, if any, will be afforded the opportunity to ask questions of each witness. Borough Council will then ask any additional questions it may have of the witness. After the Borough Council has asked its questions, anyone else present who wishes to ask questions of the applicant will be given an opportunity to do so. Parties opposing the application, if any, will then be afforded the opportunity to present testimony. The same procedure will be followed with regard to cross-examination of those witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, any person who wishes to make a statement on the record may do so. If the statement is to be considered as evidence, the statement must be made under oath. The Borough Council may or may not make its decision this evening. It is important to remember that everyone is to be afforded a full, fair, and impartial opportunity to present statements either in favor or in opposition to the application. Consequently, your cooperation is requested in allowing all witnesses to make their statements. Individuals may be expressing opinions different than yours and should be afforded the opportunity to do so. Everyone that wishes to make a statement in favor of or in opposition to this application before the Borough Council will have an opportunity to do so. Do not make statements when you are asking questions of a witness. The opportunity to make statements will come at the conclusion of the testimony in this matter. Is there anyone here for this case this evening? Could you come forward and identify yourself and be sworn in?
Yes, my name's John Eccleston. Sure. ECCLESTON. I do.
We have a couple of procedural things to address. First, I'd like to ask if the case has been advertised.
Yes, it was run in the Lititz record.
Twice on, excuse me for a second. It was on the 12th and the 19th of March.
Okay, and I believe we enter that as Exhibit 1. Then the final question, was the property posted at least 7 days prior to the hearing?
Yes, it was posted on March 4th.
Okay. Well, there's another one. Did you timely mail the notice of the hearing to the applicant and to the board members?
Yes, we discussed it at the planning commission meeting and I followed up via email with the applicant and the board members received it via packets. And then no one else requested any updates on that.
Thank you. And was the notice posted at Borough Hall?
Yes, and it's down there right now.
Okay. Would anyone in the audience like to be considered a party to this case this evening? Not? That's okay. Okay. I think what we're going to do is proceed and let you make your presentation on what you're proposing to do.
Okay. We own the property at 360 North Broad Street. Last year, we were approved to do renovations on the main house. This year, we are seeking permission to remove the barn at the rear of the property and erect two-bedroom units in its stead. They'll be about half the size of the original barn. We've been through zoning hearing and planning commission a few weeks ago. Both were approved. Elijah is helping us walk through the landing development plan, which is significant. But Keith Good is doing a good job for us on that. So right now we're about halfway through that, I think. We're hoping to start and end construction this summer if everything goes well. I think it'll bring some brand new housing to the community. And the barn is past its useful life. Restoring it or doing anything else with it is really not tenable. Now the tenants I've been using for storage, tenants have moved out and I've been able to get in. I see just how bad it's deteriorated on the inside, not just the outside. So I did put 30 or 40 calls out over the last 5 months to find an architectural salvage company that would take the barn instead of just trash it in the dumpsters. So I do have a company in Oxford that's going to come and disassemble the barn, resell the pieces, reuse it however they choose. So
Great, great. So the main reason is just the condition of the barn doesn't allow you for you to reuse it in a manner you would like to.
It's deteriorating. Even the floor, when the last tenant moved out, the floor in the middle has sagged 2 feet. and the 8x12 beam underneath has cracked in half. And that's just the part that I didn't know about, as opposed to the roof and the siding is, it's all gone. So
Okay. Thank you for the information. Does anyone on council have any questions for the applicant this evening?
So is it going to be, if I'm looking at where the barn is now, it's going to be split in the middle, there's going to be two, or are you talking first floor, second floor?
there'll be two side-by-side units,
Okay.
two-story units with a masonry firewall in between.
Okay. And then parking, I guess.
It's all in the land development plan. We did this with the parking committee, planning committee?
So right now we're just looking at the
Zoning.
demolition. They do have a land development plan submitted that we'll be seeing in the future at some point. So, but this point is just for the demolition of the barn.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But they've told us how much parking we need and it's in the plan.
No other questions from council? Anyone in the audience have any questions for the applicant this evening? No? Okay. So I believe at this point, we have the opportunity to vote on this case this evening. We would like to move this one along. If anyone would like to make a motion to approve the conditional use.
I'll move to approve the conditional use application for demolition of 360 North Broad Street garage.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
We have a second hearing this evening for a liquor license transfer into the borough. Do we have the applicant for that case?
Way in the back.
Together.
Do.
Okay, if you'd like to introduce yourself and explain to us what you'd like to do.
All right, thank you. Good evening, council. My name is Ken McDermott. I'm with the law firm of Saxon and Stump. I'm here tonight on behalf of New Holland Coffee Company. With me this evening is Mark Fisher, one of the owners of New Holland Coffee Company. And the purpose of our visit here tonight is to ask for your permission to transfer a restaurant liquor license into the borough of Lititz. Just a little background on the exhibits that I handed out to you. One is the proof of publication with respect to the notice for the hearing this evening. And the second exhibit, Exhibit 2, is a current list of the restaurant liquor licenses that have been approved for this borough that are within the borough limits. We're here to ask for your permission to approve the transfer. We're asking for license number R-18624 to be transferred into the borough. This license was previously owned by Black Knight's Tavern and Grill in East Hempfield Township. It's currently in safekeeping, and the owner has ceased operations, which makes it an excellent opportunity for them to sell it to us. By way of background, and council may be familiar with some of this process, but for some of the people in the audience, I'll just briefly explain why it is we're here. After Prohibition, the Commonwealth was tasked with creating a framework for regulating alcohol within the Commonwealth. One of the things that they did was they created this quota system where each municipality was awarded one liquor license per so many thousands of citizens. That number has fluctuated occasionally over the years, but right now it stands at one license per every 3,000 residents within a municipality. At the turn of the century in 2000, they changed it from a municipality-based quota system to a county-based quota system. However, they kind of kept a little bit of the municipality quota system in place. So, for example, although you're allowed now to transfer licenses between municipalities within a county, if that municipality has already exceeded its quota, you have to come before the council or board and ask for permission to add another license within the limits. And so that's why we're here tonight. We're asking for council's approval to transfer the license R-18624 into Lititz Borough for use at New Holland's location, which they currently have operating just a couple blocks down the road. So with me tonight, I have Mark Fisher. He's one of the owners of New Holland Coffee Company. And I'm just going to ask him a few questions. And of course, we'll answer any questions that council has, or if anybody in the audience has any questions about what it is we're trying to ask here, we'd be more than happy to answer them. Share the microphone. So, Mark, can you just introduce yourself to the council?
Sure. Obviously, Mark Fisher, my wife, Mary, I have 2 daughters. We currently have 4 locations. Our main location is obviously in New Holland. We have a downtown Lancaster location, and we have a creperie. And then about 2.5 years ago, I had the honor to come to Lititz. So it's been an honor to be here. And
And do you currently sell alcohol at your Lititz location?
yes, we do. We currently have a brewing license.
You serve, other than beer that you make on site, do you serve any other alcohol?
Yes. The brewing license allows me to sell PA, any kind of PA liquors or brews. We have roughly 5 or 6 cocktails on the rotation, and then we also have wine and obviously beer. And currently about 9 beer on tap.
Now, you said you're limited in what you can sell under your brewery license. Can you just explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. It's kind of complicated, but the PA liquor or PA brewing license allows me for every $100 worth of beer I sell, I can sell $50 worth of liquor. And that's kind of what brings me where I'm at today. It's my beer sales is not high enough. Most of my customers want their cocktails or liquor, and it's putting me over the quota that I'm technically allowed, and therefore I need to obtain a liquor license.
Are you also limited with respect to the source of the alcohol that you can sell under your brewery license?
Yes, it has to be in Pennsylvania. Correct.
And what are your current operating hours at the Lititz?
We are open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, Sunday closed.
If council approves the transfer of the restaurant license, do you anticipate changing hours of operation?
No, nothing, very little will change other than it'll give me the freedom to explore some other liquor, and obviously don't have the brewing in-house anymore, but our hours will not change.
Are your staff, your service staff, are they ramp trained?
Yes, our staff that serve alcohol are ramp certified.
Have you ever been issued a citation from the Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement?
We have not.
Any issues with service to underage?
No,
Any issues with service to physically intoxicated?
no.
Is the alcohol that you currently serve primarily for on-premise or off-premise?
On premise only.
You anticipate that will be the case if you need this license transfer?
Yes, I do.
The guests that order alcohol, are they going to be asked to show their age?
Yes, our policy is 35 and under. It's kind of ramp certified certification, kind of a rule of thumb. 35 and under, we card.
And if the borough council goes to the license transfer, do you anticipate making any changes to structure of your restaurant operations?
We're obviously getting rid of the brewery, which I'm working on a permit for that, which submitting that to the borough shortly. But yes, that the current brewery will be turned into like a garden room / like a dining area. So
Okay, so other than just an increase in variety of options, no other significant changes to the operation?
no. In fact, there'll be less beer. We're gonna do like 4 or 5 beers on tap and more non-alcoholic on tap. We might explore a little bit more cocktails, but not a whole lot would change. We'll still be serving good coffee too.
All right, that's all the questions I have for Mr. Fisher. Does anybody on the council have any questions for us?
Hi, Mr. Fisher. Thank you for bringing your business to Lititz. I was just with some friends last night and we were talking about the change in the consumption among the younger generation and more of a move towards less drinking.
Yes.
Actually. And so one of the questions I guess that I have is, do you offer any mocktail? I should know the answer because I should have been there and ordered one already.
We currently do, and we have 12 tap system. We're gonna reduce it to 4 or 5 beers and then have other things on tap. But yes, you're exactly correct.
Yeah.
The young generation is not drinking like they used to. They don't drink beer like they used to. So that's the change that we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? No? Hey, does anyone in the audience have any questions for the applicant this evening? Doesn't look like it. Okay, you're all done with your presentation?
Just ask if exhibits 1 and 2, I didn't really talk about it. 2, which list of current licensees. I would just note that there's 2 breweries with restaurant liquor license on that. And let it. but if I could have those record,
Do you have a copy of those?
nothing further from us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Without any questions, we can close the testimony this evening and we can look to council for a motion on this application.
I'll move to approve Resolution 1030, the NHCC liquor license transfer for New Holland Coffee Company.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
thank you.
I'll be down soon to check out one of those mocktails. Or possibly a cocktail.
Okay, we will now reopen our regularly scheduled March 31st council meeting. The next thing we're going to move on to are presentations. The first is Assistant Zoning Officer swearing in, and I believe, Barry, you'd like to make a couple of
Sure.
statements?
Sure, I will. I'll do that. The leadership team here at the borough is very proactive in terms of future staffing needs for the organization. So anticipation of our current zoning officer's retirement later on next year, Jordan Garner has been learning her responsibilities. Jordan has been employed full-time with the borough since 2019. Prior to that, he served as seasonal help for the Public Works Department during the summers. Jordan has a degree in forestry from Penn State. He is a current environmental coordinator for the borough. That includes stormwater, MS4 involvement, shade tree coordination, infrastructure projects. He attends the zoning hearing boards. So Jordan is very much involved in the zoning operation of our community. I think Jordan and his wife are expecting, and congratulations on that. Jordan has been training under Lori in preparation for her retirement next year. Jordan is able to perform several required tasks, but needs legal authority to perform others. So tonight we are recommending that he be sworn in as the Assistant Zoning Court Enforcement Officer. And I think the mayor will proceed with that swearing in.
Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I
I, Jordan Garner,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, defend,
the Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I will discharge
And I will discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jordan, would you like to make any comments? No?
And a few words.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan.
Okay, the next presentation is the 2025 Capital Scorecard. I'm looking down at Rob. Good. Okay.
Okay, so in your packets this week, you all received the summary of the 2025 scorecard, and I just want to do a brief presentation on the history of our capital scorecard and what you see in front of you tonight and how this all plays out. So how we handle our capital was actually a recommendation through our audit from fiscal years 2020 through 2023. It's a recommendation by GASB. GASB is the Government Accounting Standards Board. They give guidance to local municipalities on how they should do their finances. And that was, their guidance was to have a strong and objective capital policy. So our specific capital policy gives our staff to make objective decisions. It stresses objectivity, cooperation between staff members and committees, and also transparency. The typical workflow starts at the staff and department level, where they assess the different assets that we have. From there, it goes up to the department director, then to a subcommittee, and then eventually onto the finance committee. So the whole life cycle of this capital scorecard touches every single person or committee within the borough, so that everyone has a clear understanding of what we're being asked, of what we're asking to replace, and why we're asking for it. So what you're seeing in front of you tonight up on the screen, I'm going to try and zoom in here a little bit, is a summary of our 2025 capital. This summary is Public Works, the Police Department, and Borough Hall. It does not include anything at the water plant or the wastewater treatment plant. The items here, most likely, you will see on the budget come November of this year. You will notice that it's divided into categories, both equipment, buildings, and vehicles. The score, the number one, is actually the worst score you can have. And basically what that means is that that asset is exceeded its useful life, difficult to get parts or no parts at all, or the work orders are becoming more consistent and reoccurring versus a preventative maintenance schedule. Next up, you see who assessed each of these pieces of equipment, a budget replacement cost, and then the funding source. So let's just take, for example, the fire panel for Borough Hall that is scored as a 1. That fire panel replacement will be shared with the Buildings and Grounds Committee, so they get a good idea of why we're asking to replace it and when we're asking to replace it. It will then, assuming the Buildings and Grounds Committee approves, it will then go to the Finance Committee as part of the budget, and then if the Finance Committee approves, to Council at the November meeting for approval. That is the basic summary of our capital. Like I said before, this doesn't actually mean all these items will be in the 2027 budget, but it's a solid chance that they all will be. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do we want to take 1 second? We just the logistical issue to address. Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Rob on the presentation that he did this evening on the financial scorecard on council?
Rob, remind me of the number 1 is the worst. What are the other ratings? How far up does it go?
Sure, it goes 1 to 4.
1 to 4.
1's the worst, 4 is like brand new, a year old, something like that.
The Building Grounds Committee is aware of these. We meet regularly and we'll continue to monitor these particular items, particularly when they get approved. We'll have to work at how we fund it, and also in terms of the cost, are there various vendors that provide for these, this equipment, that's the kind of thing we'll take a look at.
So is that one, like, just for the Borough Council HVAC unit, the 120, that's just an estimate? We don't know exactly if that's what it's going to cost.
Correct. That estimate's from 2025.
Okay.
So it's not up to date. We'll get that before the budget season in
Okay.
27.
So Rob, the next step with this then is just to continue to refine this until we begin the budget season. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yep. I just want to commend you and the staff for the work that you've done on the capital budgeting. I think it's really helpful to begin to see this coming together, and thank you.
This process also relates to our Borough Council guiding principles related to transparency and data-driven decisions. So thank you for following up on those.
Are there any other questions from council this evening? If not, we'll open it up if anyone in the audience this evening has any questions related to the presentation. Oh, we do have one. Could you come up to the microphone? The people online can't hear you. Yep.
Todd Dickinson, South Spruce Street. It's just a question of, from that list, is there a full list of borough assets such as these, and they're all ranked, and you're just showing us the ones?
Yep.
Okay, I assumed that existed, but I just wanted to make
Sorry.
sure.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I think the idea was to try and focus on the ones that were upcoming, with the idea that there is an eye on the ones that would be following it. But it can be a little overwhelming when you look at all of them, and it sort of can be a little bit much. Good question, though. Okay. If there aren't any other questions, I don't think we need to take any action on that, but we do appreciate the work and the presentation you did tonight, Rob. Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to ordinances. We have ordinance 624, the 2021 IPMC. Elijah?
Sure. This is a very simple ordinance that essentially allows us to adopt the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code as our building codes. I think what it should be noted is this is something that needs to be updated at every time that the ordinance is every time the code is updated. We'll need to go back and do this again. There are other codes that we have, like electrical codes, that when it's approved by the state, it automatically gets adopted by us. But this is kind of a special case.
Great, thank you. Any questions regarding the updating of the IPMC code?
Elijah, can you just clarify? I think I remember this from my time on zoning and code enforcement. This 2021 edition, it is 2026, so some people might be wondering why we're only adopting 2021. This was just approved by the state, correct? And so we have to wait for the state to approve it, and then we can approve it.
Correct.
So-
But their approval doesn't, the other ones that we have automatically go into effect once they approve.
Right.
This we actually have to, and there are options to change things around with it if there are things that we feel we either want to enforce or do not want to enforce.
I do want to make one note about the section 302.4, which addresses the height of weeds and establishes that at 6 inches, I believe. And anything beyond 6 inches is eligible for enforcement. But we are looking at, and I believe that it clarifies in there that anything that is a cultivated garden, so something like what they're doing at the Moravian Church with a native meadow that they've planted, would not be out of compliance with the code. So it needs to be managed in a cultivated garden area.
Correct. Sort of like our meadow at New Street Park.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Good, thank you. Good points. Any other questions from council related to this ordinance? No, does anyone in the audience wish to address the IPMC update? No? Okay. Look for a motion to approve ordinance 624.
Motion to approve ordinance 624, the 2021 IPMC ordinance.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Wonderful. Okay. Keep moving on here tonight. We have resolutions. Resolution 1031, NIFWIF grant application. Elijah, I believe that one is yours.
Yes, this one authorizes us, staff, primarily Jordan, to submit for a NIFWIF grant to construct the stormwater, regional stormwater facility that we're planning to build west of Lititz Springs Park. The acronym is National Fish and Wildlife Foundation.
Very good, thank you.
So many acronyms.
Yes. You want a motion?
Does anybody have any questions related to this? No? Anybody in the audience? We'll keep it moving. I would look for a motion.
Move to approve resolution 1031, establishing the support for the application for the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Small Watershed Grant to construct the Lititz Springs Park Regional Facility.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Resolution 1032, Arbor Day 2026. Back over to Elijah.
This is the same yearly event which recognizes Arbor Day in the borough. This is going to be for the last Saturday in April, which coincides with the downtown cleanup and encourages people to take care of the street trees in town and other cleanup and environmental activities.
Sounds like something that would be hard to oppose. Any questions from either council or the public? Motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion, Borough of Lititz, Lancaster County Resolution number 1032, the resolution to celebrate Arbor Day in the Borough of Lititz.
Second. We'll give Brad that one.
Yes.
All those in
Let
favor?
him have it.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Resolution 1033, the disposition of municipal records. Elijah.
So we do this periodically, and this is goes along with the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission's Municipal Records Manual, which says that essentially, if there are records, there are provisions that we have to keep some things forever, and there are some things we can get rid of after a set amount of time. So this is a moving forward to the last time we did this, which I believe was in 23. We have added a few extra items. Specifically, some of the ones I have as notes, cancel municipal notes, bonds, and coupons. There is a safe in the basement that has canceled notes from the 50s or 60s. Non-commercial building permits and construction records. This is not certificate of occupancies. These are the things that kind of lead up to that. So right now the files are commingled, but would allow us to basically keep the COs, get rid of the extra stuff. And the last one is old personnel records, because guess what else is in the basement? Old personnel records from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So, and those are just ones that I found recently.
Well, thanks for keeping after those things and I guess preserving some of our storage space. Any questions? No. Any other questions from the audience? No. Look for a motion.
Move to approve resolution 1033, resolution regarding the disposition of municipal records.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, next is special events. The Italian Festival, the Keystone Italian Project. I believe the chief, where are you? Is anyone here to present? Oh, we do have somebody here. I just saw your name. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, if you could just identify yourself.
Yeah, sure.
and-
Tim Austin Liddell. I'm one of the organizers, founders of the Italian Festival. If you're local, you know we've been doing this for a few years here. Just our fourth year in 2025 with approximately 15,000 plus people at Lititz Springs Park, with a change in policy in the park, which they communicated to us, probably a year and a half ago. We've been looking ahead and planning ahead for this, and we think we have a really good plan in place where we would move up to a portion of Main Street in front of Lititz Moravian We reviewed the proposed festival map with the police and the whole sort of team, fire and EMS. We've talked to all the sort of private landowners about what space we can use, whether that's lawn or the driveway of Linden Hall. Sort of initially, we're feeling really positive about it, but the big question mark is whether you feel like this is something we want to do in Lititz again. So.
Sure. Thank you for that information. I believe you have a little bit of follow-up based on your discussions with him, Chief.
Where Tim had hit a lot of the major points. We had met with him, emergency management, police, fire, EMS, to understand what it would look like moving it from the park to a portion of Main Street. This would be farther down on Main Street, not immediately in the first block, like off the square that most of the events normally use. This would be down, like Tim said, closer to Cedar to Cherry. So essentially, if you could think from the pharmacy down just past Linden Hall. So based off of our conversations, we went through, some emergency plans, some concerns, some questions that we had, and we fully support the plan as they presented it. To Tim and his team's credit, it's a very organized plan. They answered a lot of the questions that we had, and the questions weren't coming from a place of, concern. It was just not knowing, because although this is an event that's been in the community for several years, it's just moving to a different spot. So we just had some questions about what that would look like. And based off of those conversations and what they presented, from the police department's viewpoint, we would fully support the plan as they presented it.
Thank you for all your work to look into this with them. Does anyone on council have any questions regarding this proposed special event?
Just a question. So I can't remember. Do you have to buy tickets to get to this?
No. So we've been
Okay.
a free open event since the
all right.
beginning.
I was wondering, like, how are you going to?
Yeah, we really kind of pride ourselves on that.
Okay.
There has been for the last couple of years a component of the event that's involves drinking.
Right.
We did
Where's
that
that
at the
gonna go?
VFW. It was kind of called La Piazza, and it was that was fully enclosed. And that's just to sort of keep an eye on everyone and make sure bottles don't move. So we're proposing to do the same type of thing, where the vast majority of the festival would be very family focused, food and non-alcoholic drinks. And then there would be a portion that we're hoping to put a little further down on Water Street, off of Water Street at the LGH lot down there. And then that would be a dedicated zone for, say, a wine garden.
Question.
So yeah, so really our proposal is to take the template that we've developed over the last 4 years that we feel really good about, and just simply pick up and move it down the street. And we're really excited about this particular position because it allows all the Main Street businesses to stay open, get all the traffic, all the normal activity that happens, easy movement on Cedar, no closures there. But then all the energy of the festival would be plugged right in on Main Street. So we think the crowds that we generate are going to visit Main Street, and the crowds from Main Street are going to visit ours, and it can be a real win-win.
We appreciate your efforts to adapt and move with the circumstances you were given there. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for the applicant for this special event? No? I'd look for a motion from council then on this application.
I'll move to approve the application for the special event for the Italian festival.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. Good luck with your event.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. The next item on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. Does anyone on council have any items that they'd like to pull out, or are we satisfied with the way the consent was set up?
Two items to pull out real quick.
Sure.
For Infomark, understand that your water treatment plant was recognized for an award 2025. Thank you for your work on that. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but it's good to know that our water treatment plant is a good quality plant.
Great.
And then the other one is the overtime compensation analysis that the chief of police presented to us. Thank you for your work on that. Overtime has continued to drop over the last couple of years. We know that's been a focus of yours, and thank you for doing that.
Okay, so we can act on the consent agenda the way it is, just comments that you wanted to make regarding it. Wonderful, thank you. Any other comments? No? I'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda this evening.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next up this evening, we have the treasurer's report. Rob?
Okay, so as normal, the treasurer's report is a hard copy here at each one of your seats. A few things that I wanted to call out as you look down through page 1 of the financial report. The liquid fuels deposit was received. That is down in the highway aid fund, second from the bottom under revenues. You'll also notice that some revenue from the water, sewer, stormwater started in March as our invoices just went out on March 10th. As is normal for this time of year, expenses are outgaining our revenue in the general fund. And the last thing I wanted to point out was that I did approve the DCED financial audit report that was filed end of this month. And that was also included in your packets. There's nothing really outstanding to point out in that. It's basically a balance sheet for our funds for the 2025 fiscal year. I will note that the full audit is on schedule for either May or June at the council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Looks like we have 3 items. Do you need action on the municipal audit and financial report?
Should approve the trust.
The financial report is the audit. We're approving that too? Okay. Okay, so we have 3 items. The first is February DMA invoices. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion to approve February DMA invoices?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Recuse myself from that vote. Next, we have March DMA invoices.
Move to approve the March DMA invoices?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Again, I recuse myself from that one. Next, we have the 2025 municipal audit and financial report.
Move to approve the 2025 municipal audit and financial report?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move on to council members from this evening. The first one we have is the subcommittee report on personnel and benefits, and we have an appointment to the Historical Area Advisory Committee.
Yes, thank you, Chair Scott. I have the great privilege of recommending 3 very qualified and motivated people to join our various committees. And the first one is the Historic Area Advisory Committee. I'm introducing to you tonight David Lawler for appointment to the Historic Area Advisory Commission. David has lived in Lititz for 40 years and owns an historic property in the borough. Over those years, he and his wife have made numerous upgrades to the property to comply with the Historic Area Advisory Commission guidelines. David is aware of the application and zoning process needed for building approval changes. He and his wife view themselves as caretakers of a historic property in the community. David is a retired supervisor from Lancaster County Juvenile and Probation and currently volunteers with the Parkinson's Exercise Group at Lititz Rec Center. Dave wants to contribute more to the community as a member of the commission. So I would like to make a motion to appoint David Lawler to the Historic Area Advisory Commission for a 5-year term effective April 1st, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
David's here. Maybe you'd like to make some comments?
Sure. Just want to thank the council for this opportunity. Like Jerry said, we've done a lot of work on our house over the years. And when Mary told me back in January that there was an opening, I thought it would be a good opportunity. So I appreciate the council's trust in me, and I'm looking forward to contributing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
It's great to have residents in our community who understand the historic nature of our community and want to keep it that way. So thank you, David, for that investment. Really do appreciate it. My second one is for the Parks Committee. So I'm introducing Joel Witters for appointment to the Parks Committee. Joel grew up in Lititz, attending Warwick High School. Joel is a civil engineer project manager at Route 2 Associates. His work experience in planning, developing, permitting, and managing land development projects will be an asset to the Parks Committee. He and his wife use the parks frequently and believe they help make Lititz a special place to live. During our conversation, he made several suggestions about park improvements and was particularly interested in getting involved with the rail trail project. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Joel Witters to the Lititz Borough Parks Committee for a 3-year term effective April 1, 2026.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And Joel's here, but I think you would like to say something, Joel? Joel brings a lot of specific expertise to the Parks Committee, and I think will add a lot. So thank you for your willingness to serve.
Yeah, thank you.
And lastly, I have an appointment to the Borough Authority. I'm introducing Tim Strayer for appointment to the Lititz Borough Authority. Tim is a longtime resident of the borough with family connections to the Lititz Water Sewer Authority. I think his father worked in the authority many years ago. He currently is employed at Your Quality Solutions as a design and estimating manager. His work has focused on stormwater system inspection, maintenance, and repairs. He is also a master watershed steward through Penn State Extension. This volunteer-based program focuses on watershed protection and education. He sees his involvement with the authority as a meaningful way to contribute his experience to give back to the community where he lives. I'm making a motion to appoint Tim Strayer to the Lititz Borough Authority for a 5-year term effective April 1, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Done? I guess Tim's not here this evening.
No, he
Couldn't be here. Okay, thank you very much for all your work with that to bring these great candidates to us this evening. Next, we'll move on to the subcommittee report on water and sewer.
All right, Dwayne and I'll take this one. First, we wanted to alert people, council members, that the West Main Street water main replacement project is kicking off within, Rob, are we the next week or so was the schedule, I believe? Is there any
Monday.
update? Monday?
It is 6, I think it is.
So we'd be looking at closure of West Main Street as they're getting that work done. I believe our fire company is all prepared for those interruptions to the recirculation, as well as the different business owners and others have been notified. So just wanted to make sure that you all knew about that and see if anybody had any questions.
Do we know how long I'm going to have to go a different way to school? Any idea? Month, 2?
We think 1 month,
Okay.
weeks, yep.
Okay.
Everybody
Guess I
keep
can-
your fingers crossed that it goes smoothly because our public works guys are doing this project. So really proud that our team is able to take these things on and help reduce costs of these kinds of significant capital projects. So anything you want to add to that one, Dwayne? Okay. The next thing is Water Week 2026. Water Week is an event that was started 10 years ago by the Lancaster County Conservancy as a way of raising awareness in our county about the value of our waterways and what we can do to help restore and protect those waterways. This is the 10th year, and each year it has grown bigger and bigger with different activities going on throughout the county. And after touring the wastewater treatment plant last month, Dwayne and I started talking about it and thought it would be really great if we could offer tours of the wastewater treatment plant through this during Water Week activities, or during Water Week, which is begins June 6th, I believe. So we will be offering tours at 10 a.m. on June 9th and at 4 p.m. on June 11th. We'll have a registration that'll go up digitally within the next week or so. Hopefully staff is going to be able to help us with getting that registration link set up.
I see you looking at me.
You foresee any problems with that?
No, Rob and I were talking about a couple of different ways we could go. So
Okay.
we just haven't actually started pulling things together yet.
Okay, great. So those will be limited to 10 people. So if you're interested, it really is fascinating, and I'll let you say something about that after I quit rambling here, but you'll register quickly if you want to get in, because we're only offering these 2 tours, and I already know that Tanae is taking up 4 of the spots, so. Or 3. Just kidding. She can get a tour anytime.
Exactly.
So anyway, yeah, we really appreciate Infomark and the team and the job that they do and the education that they provide about that really critical piece of infrastructure. So you want to say anything
Yeah, I
about
couldn't
it?
agree more. I was a little blown away and probably shocked at learning so much. I mean, you drive by and think it's just a smell that's there, but once you go through it and realize all that's involved, and even bugs, like it just blew me away. I mean, it is really, it's huge to the community, and clean water, and it's a big chore that you guys are doing to keep us healthy and going. So I think it's fascinating. I wouldn't have thought it was, but it was pretty neat. I would encourage everybody to go walk through it.
Do you want to say a word about the conveyor while that we approved the conveyor project, to just what we learned about the cost of the
Yeah, so
activities?
I think we're going to get there, but the conveyor is up for bid to accept it. And I will say, just knowing the little bit that I do, it came in over budget, but in reality, they were really, really within tolerance. And the truth of the matter is, if it would not be approved, the ramifications of not having it would overwhelmingly cost more than the difference in the budget. So Doug can probably explain all of the technical mechanics of it, but yeah, I think it's really important to the community to keep everybody healthy, and yeah.
So Doug, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions about this at this point? Any questions from council? Okay, we'll keep moving then. Thank you, Dwayne. The final thing I wanted to report is we have established our committee goals for the year. And the one thing is we are looking at the operator contract will expire at the end of this year. So we'll be looking at that. Also, we have already ticked off one of our goals, which was the rate adjustment. So we're already making progress. And then one of our other goals was to increase council's understanding of the water and sewer system. So please, if you have questions about anything, reach out to us. Let us know if you'd like presentations at council meetings, or if there are things that you think we can help, information we can provide you with to help you understand the nuances and complexities of our critical water and wastewater systems. So those are our goals for the year. That's it.
Great, thank you. Any questions on that report this evening from either council or the public? No? Okay. We're going to move on then to the subcommittee report on streets and traffic.
Okay. So first one I have is, last few years, we have gotten a lot of complaints about our parking meters, and they've increased over the past few months. I'd say we've gotten a lot more complaints. So I get it, because I am frustrated with them as well. So a few of us got together and we got sales pitch from Park Mobile, and I know Chief put together a great little presentation, so we can kind of go through that to show us other options that we have versus our standard, the parking meters we have currently. You want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah, that would be great if you could maybe guide us through this slideshow that gives a little bit more detail on the Park Mobile option. And before you tonight, we do have agreement 583. If after discussion we decide to move forward with it, that would allow us to start to implement this new parking system within the borough.
Well, similarly, the police department, I would say almost on a weekly basis, sometimes more frequent, receives some of the same feedback from community members, businesses, visitors, et cetera, about slow processing times, user interface with, selecting the parking space on the single meters that service 2 parking spaces. Probably very similar things to what you are hearing. We've explored a lot of options on how to enhance the current system. But part of that feedback that we continue to receive also is looking at other solutions to make a data-driven decision if we're going to continue to pump time, effort, and money into the current system, or look more over the horizon to see if there's a different system that services the borough better. So like it was mentioned, Park Mobile came in several weeks ago at this point. I took the liberty to just make a PowerPoint to kind of drill down onto the basics, the elements of, what we collectively felt was a good presentation to the public. And rather than just speaking it, I felt there was some value in visualizing some of the data to just see it. I think it's just easier to digest. So I'll go through the slides, and if at any point there's a question, stop me. Some of the data that you'll see here was presented to us by Park Mobile based off of their internal records, their internal systems. So you'll see a lot of that stuff that they provided to us in the front end. So this map just details what Park Mobile's footprint is, to show that, they're an established company. Most people, depending on where you vacation to or where you travel to, in all likelihood have had some experience or some exposure to their platform. And this just maps out where they're currently located.
Sure. And we were told in relatively close metro areas, Lancaster, York, Harrisburg, and Reading all utilize this system, and they have a large footprint along the East Coast in particular, as you can see on that map. So I think we were told 90, there was some high percentage. There it is. Oh, sorry, taking your thunder.
So what Park Mobile did is they estimated the current number of users from their system with a 17543 area code through registration, compared that to what I presume to be census data that they pull off. And their estimates are there was about 91% of the population, based off of rough numbers, that already has some sort of interface to the Park Mobile system. So it does not appear to be a system that people locally have no exposure to, no experience with. Quite to the contrary, it looks as if many of the people within the greater Lititz area have already interfaced with the app. This is just for anybody who's not experienced what what the app would look like on a phone, as far as selecting your parking zone, selecting the amount of time that you want to purchase. The way it could be laid out downtown is the zones, the numbers, the way they're laid out could be completely customizable by the borough. At this point, there hasn't been any discussion on expanding the current footprint of metered parking. It will just allow us to organize the existing footprint in some sort of manner that makes sense from an enforcement and identification process, so that if you say I'm trying to park in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it makes sense where that is. So next slide, please. One of the other options is the ability to have a pay station, or a kiosk as they call it. The number of kiosks would be completely within the borough's discretion. One of the advantages to this is it would allow for people, if they still wanted to continue to pay with cash or coin, that they wouldn't be locked into a credit card payment. They wouldn't be locked into an app-based payment. They could still go to a kiosk station and pay with cash if that was the preference. At this point, I believe the direction of the recommendation would be to start with one kiosk position somewhere strategically in town, and then evaluate if this is the way that we would go. evaluate if the number of kiosks at some point in the future need to be added, and if they would be, where would it make sense to add them? So unless you have any comment on that, there's a couple of locations that could be strategic as far as, the visibility, the amount of foot traffic, and the accessibility. But at this point, it would make sense to start with one, get the experience with it, and then scale it up from there based off of a period of experience with the system. And there are other options as far as payments go. Not everybody has, a smartphone with, the ability to download apps. So there is options for people to pay without smartphones, through text-based paying in addition to the kiosk. Certainly I think one of the benefits of this system would be the variety in payment methods that could accommodate both, payment preferences, but then also, ability to use technology, because some people may not have, the experience with a smartphone or may not have one. And I don't think we would want to exclude those people from, being able to use the system. So this equitable access would ensure that they have a robust toolbox, if you will, of payment methods, so that people aren't inadvertently being left out and risk getting tickets because they simply didn't have the opportunity to pay. So there were some options as far as what type of kiosk could be put in, whether you want it to be credit and or debit, coins and or bills. And looking at the options, we think it made the most sense to have the full array of payment options and not limit the kiosk to just credit or just debit or just coins and not bills. People may have different options available to them, and providing them with a kiosk system that could accommodate all payment methods seemed to make the most sense, because if you walk to the kiosk and it doesn't accept the payment that you're prepared to use, that could be just as frustrating as some of the parking challenges that people have expressed to date. Obviously, there is a cost component to all the kiosks too. So that was part of the consideration of starting with one to see how much use it's getting, what the popularity of it is, and then at that point to scale it out if it was desired, rather than starting with a bigger footprint and then trying to scale it back after you've already expended the capital. By that point, it's a bit too late. One of the other benefits to Park Mobile is there is no cost to start it. Once and if that would be the direction that the borough would want to go, we would identify the zone numbers. They provide all the signage at no cost. That's part of your onboarding with them. We discussed what we would do with the current meter heads. It seems to make the most sense at that point just to pull them off the posts and use the existing posts to post signs with the zone number. There could be some ability to have a hybrid where you'd have Park Mobile plus the current parking meter system. I think the consensus is that's just too confusing. It's two different systems to manage. So I don't think there would be much heartburn in getting rid of the meters. So that was the idea, was to just use the existing posts that were there. You could post zones, and the Public Works could help do a lot of that labor to keep the cost down. Annual maintenance. So if you look at the fiscal 26 anticipated expenditure for the maintenance of the current parking meter system, is budgeted at just under $12,000. The maintenance costs for the kiosk systems are fixed, so we would have some predictability and stability with what those costs would be. If assuming that the annual maintenance costs over the next 3 fiscal years for the current parking meter system, if it were to remain at the rate it's at now, compared to the projected cost for the kiosk system over the next 3 years, over that 3-year period, we anticipate about a $10,000 savings on the maintenance of whatever the system is at that time. So if the meter stayed in place, you can get a rough estimate of what the 3-year maintenance costs would be compared to the costs of the Park Mobile maintenance over the next 3 years, and both the annual and the cumulative difference over the next 3 fiscal years. So there was, assuming, I don't believe there's been any interest or discussion on changing the parking meter rate. Obviously, that only changed at the beginning of this year. So the way that Park Mobile structures this particular fee structure. And again, assuming the borough would stay at the $2 parking rate, which is what we're at now. There is a 70-cent convenience fee that is absorbed by the Park Mobile user. Processing fee, there is no processing fee for the transactions. Borough net revenue would be $2 per transaction. We pulled 2025 data off of the total number of transactions off the current parking meter system. And you can see what the anticipated revenue would be. Simple math, $2 per transaction times the number of transactions. And it would project a revenue slightly higher than what's in the current budget now. But again, there could be some variables to that number depending on if and when the cut over to the Park Mobile system would occur. So these are just rough numbers to just give some exposure to what that would possibly look like. That's the 50,000 foot view. Again, I took the liberty of compiling everything Park Mobile gave us into a presentation because I just think it's easier to digest it than it is to talk about all this and not see it on the screen. So I turn it back to council if you have any other questions or comments on what that meeting with Park Mobile looked like or any other discussion.
Sure. I really appreciate the presentation you put together, and I think it really boiled it down to sort of the essentials of it. We did hear from, I believe, our downtown merchants group, Venture Lititz. They were supportive of this effort because of talking to the merchants around town. Every one of them sort of has a plan in place when they see somebody struggling at one of the meters when they come into town. And one of the things that really struck me as we started to look at this was we don't want the first impression someone visiting Lititz has to be a frustrating experience when they go to the meter and they put their card in and it doesn't do anything. Or hopefully they don't have a metal card and they put their metal card in and the metal card sticks and you can't get it out unless we pull it out with the pliers, or all the other horror stories sort of we've heard of the interactions and the amount of effort that the police department in particular has to deal with the complaints. And it just seemed like a way that we could streamline a lot of the efforts that are related to parking. There is a fee that goes along for the user if they use their card through the app. If the user wants to avoid that fee, they can go to the kiosk and pay with cash, and there is not a fee associated with that. So there is a way to park without paying the fee. So that still is present. That convenience fee is part of that. I have to admit, I've used Park Mobile for several years now. Didn't quite realize the fee was there, but it's part of their operations and the way they're able to do business and provide that service to the borough and to the residents. Do we have any questions from council regarding this presentation or what we're looking at this evening?
The meter posts you said you would use for advertising or for instructions for this current system. Would eventually we take those posts down, or?
I don't know. I mean, I don't see that as likely because I think you want to be clear what zone you're parking in. And for anybody who is not currently a Park Mobile user, it would also have the QR code. They could either download the app or just pay directly at that point. So my only fear with limiting or reducing the number of signs would be, are we creating more confusion about what zone you're in? You know, am I paying for the correct spot? So the posts are already going to be there, even if the meter heads come off. So it just seems like a logical use of something that's already there, as opposed to trying to erect new signs with the zone sign on top of it.
Yeah, we had thought about then there likely would be a fairly significant cost associated with removing those posts and new sidewalk and all that goes along with that. So it was an asset we already have. We figure we can move forward with that.
Did I hear you correctly? You're recommending one kiosk?
That was the initial thought, only because as you increase the number of initial kiosks, you're also increasing your capital outlay because, you know, each one of them costs something initially. So because it would be a new experience for the borough, we thought it'd be prudent and financially responsible to start with one, get an understanding of how much use it gets community feedback, and then that point in the future, if we felt it was important to scale it out and second one or a third one in, we'd rather start small and build it out than build it out bigger and then try to claw it back, because at that point you've already spent the money.
An initial thought was that the first kiosk would be placed very close to the, or in front of the Borough Hall here.
Yes, because we're buying it basically. It's not like we're renting this kiosk, so it's ours. So we don't want to. Our thoughts were we didn't need two or three if there's not going to be a use for them.
Yeah, if people decide not to use them and they're familiar with the app and go that way. Or like you said, there are multiple ways you can use the app. You can scan a QR code, you can text, or you can come to the kiosk and pay with multiple methods.
And the other thing I would add at the kiosk, I mean, I think this is just another consideration. They have the ability to be branded to the local flavor. So you wouldn't necessarily have this black box in the middle of your downtown that is out of sorts with the local architecture or the local themes of downtown. So the boxes can be branded to be whatever the borough would want them to be to make it look like it fits within the downtown.
I recognize it's $12,000, but I would be concerned about mobility issues for folks to get to the square from maybe down from the Wilbur area or to the post office area. I would ask council maybe consider two, one in Central Park, but that would be council's.
The other thing we've discussed too is, with the wayfinding signs that are already in town, perhaps the kiosks could be plotted on those wayfinding signs too to help direct people who might not already be familiar with where they are.
Good feedback. Do we have any comments or questions from anyone in the audience this evening regarding this proposal? Sure, there's a agreement in front of council tonight. If we act on that from what we have been told, there's about a 3-month lead time on the kiosk. That's the largest lead time. If we were not to implement a kiosk, it could happen within weeks, likely much quicker. But I think the discussion has been to wait till the kiosk is ready, get that in place, and implement the full program all at once.
I think the concern was that if you implement just the app feature alone with the QR code signs, and you start that now, and then at 3 months down the road, you put the kiosk in, is it just cleaner and simpler and less confusing for everybody that the entire system goes live at one point rather than trying to piecemeal the implementation?
Yeah. Again, this is an attempt to address concerns that we've heard from the business community and from residents. I think every one of us in our walks around town have stopped and helped someone or many people that are struggling with the meters. And we've acknowledged some of it is a user interface issue, but the interface is complicated. And it has caused a lot of trouble. And like I said, that interaction when you come to the borough doesn't need to start off being frustrating. We want the people to come, have a simple interaction for the parking, move forward with their day and have a great time while they're here and come back again and not go home and tell their friends how bad stuff. Some incident they had with their card sticking in the machine or getting a ticket because they thought the machine worked and it didn't work. So.
And we do get a fair number of those disputes with the parking meters now that they intended to pay, they thought they paid, they just happened to pay the wrong meter. And it was only discovered after they got a ticket. So, certainly we don't want to be ticketing people who are intending to do the right thing, but just made an honest mistake. And we're seeing a lot of that. And that's just one of the many complaints that we've been getting with it.
And that is one of the other things we didn't mention is that there's an enforcement component to this that they offer that allows for the borough's staff to be able to see what plates are paid in the zone. They can just walk down through, look at the plates. If they're not, then they're able to identify those vehicles and do enforcement in that manner. And then down the road, there is an option for some more advanced enforcement. I don't know if you looked into that at all, but
yeah, sure. So the discussion that we've had with our staff at this point is to continue to use the paper tickets. One, because we have them in stock, and two, because the ability to use them through the enforcement piece of the app is pretty simple, but however, at some point in the future, if we would want to move towards some sort of integrated, handheld that could print a ticket, that's certainly an option at a future point down the road. We'd rather just start with what we're using now and see how that works and get some experience with it, and then decide if we need to move on from there.
And that enforcement component comes at no cost to the borough also with participating with Park Mobile.
Correct.
How many meters do we have?
177. Well,
So-
177 metered spaces.
Okay, right. Some of them do both.
Correct.
But that will also alleviate the public works guys from having to go around and get all the change out of each of those meter heads.
Correct. And I believe that's currently happening once or twice a week, that somebody from Public Works needs to literally walk the entire footprint of the downtown, pulling a little cart behind them,
Right.
emptying change out of the meters, and going about doing that for 177 metered spots. So I would agree. I think that's one piece, both the efficiency and best use of staff time to move away from that. Now, certainly a kiosk is still going to have to be emptied periodically, but it's going to be less labor intensive and likely less time consuming than touching more than 100 meters.
And we won't have the ongoing maintenance of the existing meters or programming. I know you've had issues with those.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and Park Mobile has a 24/7 live person support. So in the event there is a maintenance issue, we're guaranteed to get a live person anytime we need them to work through the issue in real time.
Sure, we have a question. Would you mind just coming up and identifying yourself so that people online can hear you?
Body would have one, what's the long?
I think the answer to that obviously depends on where you're parked at versus where the kiosk is. I mean, to identify a worst case,
It'll be what,
perhaps
one block and a quarter,
yeah, I mean, if
maybe?
you put it somewhere close, like say, for example, around the square, somewhere at one of those 4 points in the intersection, yeah, somebody may have to walk about 2 blocks, assuming they're parked up by fluid conditioning, for example, or the Wilbur Apartments. That would be probably the farthest walk from a centrally located kiosk.
Sure, you'd have 1 block south and 1 block.
1 block over.
Yeah, 1 block this way, really. I mean, yeah, that would be the farthest up and around the corner to fluid.
Right. That's why I think that the kiosk somewhere right around the square makes the most sense, because it's right in the middle of the different legs, if you will, of where the current metered parking is.
Good question. Any other questions? Comments? No? Any other questions from council before we?
Everyone's want to say more concerned about accessibility.
I just know there's a number of people who come to visit us that have mobility challenges, and a kiosk in the center area of town seems to me a far away if you're stopping at Cavalo or, Cold Chop House. To walk up even that hill could be a challenge for some people. And it just seems to me that that's a broad area to cover. I'd just rather see 2, one in the central of Main Street and one near the park, where the 2 big separate areas of town that people tend to congregate. I just think it's a challenge for people with mobility to get to at one point. You just want to stop for a few moments. Let's just say a Cavalo Pizza. The walk up the hill there, to get to the kiosk is asking a lot. I think if folks with challenge. And to me, $12,000 is probably not is the value there of being welcoming to people with disabilities or people with mobility issues. Is I think is something I feel should consider.
And I guess we are an older community too. Besides just like you said, disability. I think it might be a good idea to consider too. I think that I agree with the mayor.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments on that?
I support 2 kiosks as well.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. So it sounds like we would be looking at agreement 583 to move forward with the mobile parking system with consent to do 2 kiosks part of the motion. Anybody entertain that motion this evening?
I'll move to, well, do we have any comments online? Okay. I'll move to approve agreement number 583, the service agreement with Park Mobile, with the understanding that we would pursue 2 kiosks to be located in convenient locations in the downtown.
Thank you. A motion to a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for the good discussion on that topic this evening. And all your hard work. Thank you,
Yeah.
Chief.
And ask if they can expedite those kiosks so we can get them before summer.
That would be perfect.
So next we have the North Locust and East Main intersection truck study.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Elijah?
Sure, I can talk about it.
Trying to do.
So we've received comments from the property owner there that's I think on the northwest corner of Locust and Main that the trucks coming southbound, presumably from Woodstream, are coming to the intersection. They're trying to make that turn and they're actually damaging the signal pole there. The base, if you notice our decorative poles, they have a base that is cast iron. The one there has been damaged, scrapped, totally gone. The pedestrian push buttons are damaged there. And our understanding from Woodstream is these are not Woodstream employees driving the trucks. They're essentially a third-party carrier that is being taken south. There's not any, at this point, a smoking gun that it's a Woodstream, like coming directly from Woodstream, but since it's immediately north of them, that's probably the most likely place that it's coming from. So this would authorize our traffic engineer to look into basically a no truck study to see if we can do truck restrictions. Note that we cannot do truck restrictions on state routes like East Main Street, but we can do them on local streets, and this is how we do it. Any questions or anything I need to elaborate on?
Sure. And the restriction would be between the railroad, the previous railroad crossing or the stream and Main Street. The truck would still have the opportunity to go out and go to the light at Oak or go up to Newport Road. The issue when you look at the pole too, the side of the pole is all rubbed black. There's a portion of the pole that actually has an indent in it now from the trucks hitting it so often, and we have replaced multiple of those base skirts on that.
Yeah,
on that pole.
on several poles throughout town. There's about a year plus lead time on getting them replaced, and the last time I looked at an invoice for them, it was about $7,000.
Yeah, we initially looked at an option similar to what was done at Broad and Lincoln, where there were some bumpers put in to try and keep the trucks on the northwest corner from hitting the pole or hitting the house, because we got similar complaints there. There just isn't enough space at this intersection to put any kind of protection for the signal pole. The house sits too close to the intersection to allow for anything else to be done. And we can't move the pole. And I think the resident has a valid concern. They're worried at some point that pole is going to get hit enough that it either falls into their house or falls on to someone that's there. That was the background thinking on this when we received that complaining comment. Does anyone on council have any comments or questions or thoughts on this idea?
Will the study look at an alternative recommended route?
Yes, we can request that.
To me, it seems obvious that you would do like an Oak to Front route or something like that.
Yeah,
but
or Locust to Newport 501.
Okay.
The intersection at Oak has a much broader configuration that allows for movement of trucks. There's all of the houses are tight to the corner at Locust, unfortunately.
Yep.
Borough thing.
Yep.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about the proposal to do a study? At this point, we're not saying that we're prohibiting trucks. We're simply doing a study to see if the study would warrant that prohibition. No? Okay, I'd look for a motion from council to authorize the commissioning of that study.
I'll make a motion to move forward with a truck study for North Locust and East Main intersection.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next, would you like me?
Yeah, you
Okay.
want to take that one?
Sure, I asked that this one be considered at this evening's meeting. The next would be to commission another engineering study to look at a four-way stop sign at the intersection of North Cedar and New Street. This intersection has been discussed in the past. There have been pros and cons looked at the issue of potentially putting a four-way stop sign at that intersection. This was brought back to the forefront after there was an accident at that intersection on Friday afternoon where a vehicle ended up in the living room of the house on the northwest corner of that intersection. When I asked to have this on the agenda, this is not to say we're putting a four-way stop sign at that intersection. It would be to do an engineering study that would look at the conditions and the safety of the intersection to see if it warrants that. The study would come back and tell us if four-way stop signs are warranted or if they aren't. But with the amount of discussion that's been had on this intersection, and then also with the recent situation that we had with the accident, I just felt that I would like to bring to the table this evening the idea of at least doing the study to find out if the engineering warrants it. Any discussion or questions related to that?
Do we know what a cost for a study is?
Sure, we do. We have a proposal from our traffic engineer for the Cedar and New Street intersection. It's about $2,800 to do a multi-way stop sign study. They look at things such as sight distance, accidents. There's a whole list of criteria. PennDOT has prepared the criteria of what would or wouldn't warrant a four-way stop sign or the addition of stop signs at an intersection. Simple speed control, like we've talked about before, is not a reason to simply install a stop sign, but you need to meet these very strict PennDOT criteria for the installation of a stop sign.
I think it's a good idea to get an idea if we need to put a four-way stop sign. I think it's cool with that.
If I remember correctly, when we talked about this last year, I think it was, we talked about this intersection pretty extensively.
Yes.
There was not a history of crashes at this intersection. Is that correct? With the exception of the accident on Friday, the recent accident? Sure. Yeah, thank you. And then I guess my question is, do we know what the cause of the accident was on Friday enough to say a stop sign would have
Yeah, so when we looked at
made
this,
a difference?
when it was discussed, it was probably second, third quarter last year. Residents had different opinions on whether they would support a four-way stop sign or not. To President Haynes' point, stop signs cannot be put up simply for the purpose of speed control. As recent as last month, we talked about speeding concerned, reiterated some speed data that was available from the traffic box that's in that block. So when we talked about this more formally towards the end of last year, we did a 2-year look back from that point backwards for any crashes. And at that point, there were 0 crashes at that intersection. Certainly, as part of an effort to cooperate with the traffic study, we can go back and look at whatever window in the past that would be beneficial for the engineer to consider. But this is the first crash at the intersection in my recent memory, albeit a pretty dramatic one that, you know, it ended up in somebody's living room. The crash that occurred on Friday, the prime contributing factor was a UPS driver who stopped at the stop sign on New Street and proceeded without clearance. So there was a vehicle, a passenger car traveling northbound on North Cedar Street as if it were coming from Front Street, going up towards, going out of town. The UPS driver stopped, proceeded into the intersection. I don't know if the UPS driver didn't see the car or presumed it were a 4-way stop and that car was going to stop. Either way, a collision ensued within the intersection between the UPS truck and the passenger car, and the passenger car obviously ended up in the front of the living room. So it wasn't, no indication indicates that speed was the prime contributing factor here. It was the stop sign violation.
And from what I understand, those are the two main criteria, that if there is an accident history, but also sight distance. When they go out, they look to see what that available sight distance is. If you're sitting at the intersection, can you see that car coming in either direction before you make your movement? And I know we did have several people that commented that they understand it's a difficult intersection with sight distance, and they have concerns with that. So that is one of the other factors that goes into the study.
And do they also look at maybe, instead of doing 4-way stop, potentially removing a space so people have better views?
I think they would if a parked car is part of the issue blocking the sight distance. If a structure is part of that issue, then that's a different issue.
Okay.
What time of day was the accident?
Right around 3:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Hey, thank you very much. Does anyone in the audience have any comments related to this proposed study? If you could come up and identify yourself and speak into the microphone, thank you.
Okay. Hi. My name is Chris McGinn. I live at 131 North Cedar Street. I heard it happen. It's kind of crazy. I was just wondering if there would, like, not just a 4-way stop, if other traffic calming measures would ever be considered for the road due to its study. I know it's a 4-way stop study. I know I've spoken to you before that not necessarily everybody is approving of that, and I understand that. But there are problems per se, like this morning, like the onus is completely on the driver at the stop sign at this point. I'm going to work at 6:10 in the morning. There are cars flying down that road, and I have to be real careful. And I am coming from the side without parking. I can tell you it is still pretty treacherous to look left and right and just inch your nose out constantly to just be like, okay, we're going to go for it. Sometimes it feels like a roll of the dice. And sometimes it just doesn't feel right that the onus is on me to determine whether, yeah, it's safe right now, and just based off of the little information I have. You know what I mean? And this is just a personal experience. And the street is, I had someone out to look at windows for me yesterday. Someone came flying down that street at like 50 miles an hour too. Like, I get that, like, maybe it was a UPS driver mistaking the street for a 4-way stop. But I can't go a week without hearing someone lay on the horn at that intersection. So there's no accidents per se, but do you just wait until more accidents happen? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, we definitely appreciate your comments, and we've looked at traffic calming measures at other locations in the borough. I don't think we've looked at North Cedar yet, but that definitely could be something that we could look at as part of some other interactions. I've had similar feelings pulling up to that stop sign, and you nudge, and then you go. And I understand what you're saying there. And again, at this point, we're not saying a 4-way will or won't be warranted. I think it's just to do our due diligence to to look at the engineering and to see if it is warranted from a safety standpoint at this point, is what this, again, what this proposal is. It's not to say tonight we're approving four-way stop. This is simply approving a study to look at whether that would be warranted based on standard engineering practices.
I guess I didn't phrase my question properly. I kind of meandered there. Included in this four-way stop study, would there be other like considerations looked at, or is it just strictly for a four-way stop sign?
At this point, this would be for the stop. It could be a separate effort to look at traffic calming. We did talk about implementing some traffic calming on 6th Street. That was one of the areas that we initially looked at, but I'm sure that the Streets and Traffic Committee would be willing to consider other possible locations, especially if what we implement on 6th is successful.
Right.
And I think we're trying a couple of different measures. If they are, then maybe we could look at other locations within the borough to implement those.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else in the audience have any comments? I believe we have one from the Phillies fan in the rear.
In the back.
I was just gonna look. Yeah, it's top of the 8th.
Do I have to tell you who I am?
You probably
Member.
should.
I work for Public Works. No, my question is on that, me and another gentleman were talking about that as long as I lived in Lititz, other than Friday, that's one of the first accidents I ever heard of at that intersection. Can you table it and wait instead of making a motion tonight?
Sure, and I guess, again, we're not making them, what's on the agenda tonight isn't to put the four-way stop sign in.
Right,
It's
to study
it, to
for
see
$2,800.
if it meets the warrants
Right.
based on standard engineering for safety at the intersection.
I'll study it for 28.
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah. I guess my concern is, do we wait until there's
table it until
there's another accident, or?
you don't want to have any accidents, but
No, and that's kind
I
of
mean,
part
the
of the
chief
concern.
don't even remember too many accidents there.
Yeah,
See, what happened was Karen moved that big tree.
I know.
That's what happened. That was her burden.
Yeah. It probably could have been a lot worse, I guess, if the tree was still
Just thought
there.
maybe you could wait, not to see if there's any more accidents, but if you go a couple of months or whatever and there's no more.
Yeah, and I guess we council, even last year, talked about this issue, and I guess could be considered waited a year from the last time, and we waited and there was an accident. Like, do we keep waiting till there's another accident in order to have the study done? Again, no statement today of whether there will or won't be
Right.
a stop sign
It's just on the
installed there.
study.
It's just this study that
Right.
we're looking
I
at.
understand
Yes.
that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Karen, that first accident, that's the one
Sure.
I've never heard of any up until now.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
just my opinion, that's all.
If I can, one of my concerns is the lack of compliance with stop signs. Visiting a friend, sitting, her house is on a corner, there's a stop sign, nobody stops. They just roll right through them. And so I guess I kind of have a concern about that. My concern also is with doing, just attacking these one at a time as complaints come up. And I know the one out by the library, very warranted, and it had been an issue for a long time. But I feel like these kinds of intersections exist in a lot of places in the borough, and I would prefer that we take a more holistic approach to looking at where the different problem areas are, and perhaps, I don't know if there's an economies of scale to getting a report or getting a study done. Is it $2,800 per intersection? Or if we have 5 intersections that we want to study, we get it for a lot less, because we are doing a more holistic approach in looking at different problem areas, or looking at how something like installing a speed table or something there could help with addressing the issues that we're facing. I just feel like we're being a little reactive. And I wonder if we need to be, if we would benefit from looking at it a little bit more holistically in terms of the different problem areas in the borough, because they exist throughout the borough.
Is that something we could get like several studies into one, or does it have to be specific?
I think there's from what I understand, there's a level of effort that's involved in doing the research and doing the site visit and determining the site distance for each one. There may be some economy if they're in town and they're able to move from one to the next, of the travel time would be removed. But I think the effort in each one would be relatively similar. So there might be some economy to that.
I don't, Mary, I think I hear what you're saying, although we've had a number of people come to this meeting and talk about that issue a number of times. So I'm not sure we're reacting quickly. We've heard this for the last year or so, and we've been trying to figure out a solution. And this study might give us some data that we could use to make a good decision about what next steps are at intersection.
I guess one of my concerns is that there is a lack of crash data. And if crash data is one of your key indicators that's going to result in a warrant for a stop sign, and we already know that there isn't the crash data there, I am concerned that we would just be throwing that money away. But I'll support this if there's a motion made. I just wanted to have us think about it. I mean, what?
So you're saying that the study crash data would be one of the determining factors for a four-way stop sign?
From what I understand, crash data, and yeah, it's getting late, and sight distance, the ability to see when you're stopped at the intersection in either direction for the vehicles approaching. Those are the two key factors that are involved in the study. If you have the crash data or if you have the sight distance concerns, either of those can warrant the addition of the stop sign. It's not like you have to have both in order to do that.
So this has not been discussed by the streets committee yet?
Not in
This time.
just through emails and discussing it on the phone, but not in an actual committee.
Mary, I mean,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Mary, do you think maybe it should just be referred back to streets and maybe bring it up next month? Or
That would be my suggestion, would be that we give streets committee a chance to reflect on some of the things we've talked about tonight and then come back next month with a recommendation.
I think that's good.
So I guess I could move to table this issue until streets committee has had an opportunity to discuss it and look at whether there are any other intersections where we have, for instance, crash data that may warrant something, or other intersections that we've had brought up to our attention.
So the direction would be to try to come up with a comprehensive list of intersections to be studied and get a proposal for that and do all of the intersections at once.
I'm just suggesting that we refer this back to streets committee to take into consideration the discussion that was had tonight and to come back with a proposal. That the recommendation could be go forward with the study of this intersection, or the recommendation could be we want to take another month and put together a comprehensive list. So it's really going back to the streets committee to make a recommendation to council.
Sure. So we have a motion to table any action on this until next month after the Streets and Traffic Committee has an opportunity to review this and holistically review the other intersections within the borough to determine which others we should include in a study for additional stop signs or traffic controls.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Sounds like you have some homework.
She always does. They always do.
Okay. Find my agenda. Okay, we're on to the reports by the mayor and the chief of police. We'll start with the mayor.
Hey, thank you. I just have two items to bring to your attention. The first one would be with the onset of warm weather, there's also have been an influx of requests for door-to-door solicitation. And Chief and I have been looking at these requests and reviewing the current resolution that we have, the current ordinance we have. And it's really don't have a whole lot of wiggle room to say no to these requests. But one thing you notice is that the ordinance does not allow us to reject somebody if they were to have a criminal record. So I don't think we want people with burglary or theft charges or sexual assault charges knocking on our doors in the community. So we want to revise that ordinance. So Chief and I have currently worked on a draft and forwarded it to Elijah to send off to our solicitor for a review. And then we would like to bring it to council's agenda at an upcoming meeting to modify that ordinance. Any questions from anybody on that? So that's just a heads up to what might be coming next month.
Thank you.
I think you did have a limit of like, what it was like 10 years or something, or right on if like after they come in.
I think that's what we read in our chief, right? Looking back 10 years for a theft charge or, the crimes that have been identified.
Yeah. I was just concerned about it being a blanket, but then I saw there was like a 10-year or some kind of time limit. I was more comfortable that way.
Were you able to find other municipalities that had similar restrictions on permits?
I can't say we really looked.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Just a second one. We have talked about trying to fill the student council position and work with the school district to coincide the application process with their application process for their school leadership positions as well as their school board positions. So we're going to announce that those applications will be effective here in about a week or two. I think the district is targeting April 7th or somewhere around there. So we'll be looking to look for applications across the Warwick School District. We are going to revise the process to allow any resident from the Warwick School District to apply for the student council position, with priority going to residents of Lititz Borough. That's because the sheer numbers of students from Lititz Borough versus the surrounding communities is, I guess, is skewed the other way. So we'll give priority to Lititz Borough residents, but in absence of Lititz Borough applicants, we will open up to Warwick School District residents, and anyone at Linden Hall as well. So that will be on the streets through the school district and on our borough website in a week.
Great. Great.
And hope to fill that position for September.
Looking forward to having the junior council person back again. Chief, do you have anything else to add this evening? Okay.
First, I just wanted to highlight, tomorrow morning, we'll have an officer go out to visit the Moravian Manor community to give a fraud prevention seminar. We know older residents are often the targets of scams. Generationally, they're more trusting. They may not understand implications of technology as well. So there's a lot of reasons why they are prone to being victims of fraud. So the intent is to put an officer out there, connect with them in person, discuss current fraud schemes, how to recognize them, what to do, what not to do. If you are a victim of fraud, giving them resources they can then use to try to mitigate that to the extent possible. So I just thought it was worth sharing. We have an officer scheduled to do that tomorrow, and a collaborative relationship with Moravian Manor. to schedule this to make sure that we can be proactive with preventing our older community members from being targeted and hopefully from them being scammed. The other thing I was going to mention, the workshop on March 10th I couldn't make, but if you recall, Joe from the YWCA was here to give a presentation on Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April. We already have an existing relationship with the YWCA. Because I missed that meeting, I did connect with Joe in person at a later point. And what I wanted to show you is this fob they provided us. We're going to have one for each patrol car. And what this is if we encounter a person who is a victim of sexual assault, whether it's an emergent situation or whether it's a delayed response, we can simply just have them put their phone up to this, and it's automatically going to bring over all the YWCA sexual assault hotline and services to them. So with the push of a button, they could call the hotline, get in touch with a counselor, be referred to different services that they might need. And the importance of this is, you know, it shows that there's a consistent approach and a partnership between law enforcement and the advocacy groups, because oftentimes, you know, what we're doing while we're all working towards the same mission might take different paths depending on what priority is in that moment. So this ensures that we can provide people with services needed in a timely manner. You know, in the past, when we simply just leave a brochure with a phone number on, you hope that they follow up with those services. This at least gives us the ability to let them put this up against their phone, put a button or push a button to call the hotline, get in touch with a counselor in real time, explore services that might otherwise be available, and just it reinforces that partnership that we have connecting them to service. That's not limited to sexual assault. They can also explore mental health, substance use resources as well, if that's something they're struggling with or if it's co-occurring to the sexual abuse. So I just think it's worth knowing that you know, this fob, although it's small, it's going to be in every patrol car. We certainly hope there's not many occasions to use it, but should that need arise, it's just another way to connect victim to service and also to just reinforce the relationships with organizations outside of law enforcement that we often work with to make sure that people get the care that they need.
Thank you for taking the extra step to reach out and make those connections.
Other than that, if there's any questions, that's all I had.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Sure. Next, we have the report by our managing directors. Rob, would you like to go first?
Sure. Everybody has my submitted report. Things are just really busy here now at the borough. Obviously with the agenda tonight, a lot of projects kicking off and paving bids coming in. So it's a very busy time. I just want to let the council know that we did not receive any negative feedback from the water sewer rate increase that went out with the March 10th bill. So we were happy about that, but happy to answer any other questions you might have with my report.
Thanks, Rob. Elijah?
Thank you. I'm happy to report I do have the construction agreement from Norfolk Southern signed. The next step to that is actually making sure that our grant consultants from the state are happy with all the information so that we can be reimbursed. I will say this, Norfolk is hopeful that they can bid it this year, but there's a couple accounting and legal things that they need to work out on their end. So we're still playing that by ear, but taking the next step. So that's positive. I did want to review the PC. The Planning Commission has established goals for 2026. The first one is actually to revisit the downtown master plan, because if you go back and look at it, two big things stick out. The rail trail isn't on there, and it's proposing a lot of development that is no longer possible because of the floodplain. So they feel like that's a good step forward. Beyond that, they are working on two essentially comprehensive, I shouldn't say comprehensive, extensive updates to both the Saldo and the zoning. It started out as a housekeeping and has progressed. I think one of the biggest things is, at least personally, are things like what we had earlier tonight, which is an accessory structure that was labeled as historic, comes before conditional use. We deem it pretty much approved, and we're just forcing people to go through this. So that's one of the big changes. There is a lot of other administrative changes that they're working through as well. The other two things are more aspirational. Data center ordinance, we're not really in the crosshairs for a data center, one of the massive ones like the city has, but they want to be proactive. And the other thing is to revisit the truck restriction study on East Main Street, which, as I said earlier, It's a state route. You can't do it when it's a state route, so it would take buy-in from both PennDOT and Warwick Township. They've expressed an interest on that. Just two other things to make sure the public are aware of. The newest phase of the skate park rehab is almost done, and as part of that, they've removed the fence along the northern part. So it is. I walked out there this weekend. It's a lot more open. It's a lot more welcoming. That doesn't include the part that's in between the skate park and the pool. That fence remained. The last thing is the Historical Foundation is looking to hold a event at Memorial Park on, I think it's going to be April 16th is what they're shooting at. And this is going to be working with America 250 PA to actually have flags being placed there. And they're looking at having kind of a Veterans Memorial event out there at the burial ground. Any questions?
That's the one by the lion.
Yes, yes. The lion is not part of our park, but
Right.
yes. So that's it was a Revolutionary War burial site, and then has other memorials that were included at a later date.
Thanks, Elijah. Next item is any petitions, correspondence, or questions. I don't know of any petitions or correspondence. Are there any questions or comments from anyone in the audience this evening?
I'd like to request that while Todd's making his way up here, I know that we received the mosquito prevention at home newsletter. Like to suggest that we get that posted up on our Facebook page. We can do that.
Go ahead, Todd.
Okay. One other note from planning, Elisha, they haven't talked about the light poles yet, right? Light poles?
They have not. I think they were made aware when PPL told us this, which was, I think, a year and a half ago.
Planning is just asking that the council and the mayor take the lead with your colleagues, talking about PPL's decision to limit light poles. We used to have a black and a green choice. Lititz chose green. As they come down, they're going to be replaced by black because they've eliminated green poles. It's going to look very strange, especially in the historic area of downtown, just to have a piecemeal mismatched light poles. We feel like if a number of boroughs and mayors and other elected officials reach out to PPL over and over again and encourage them to reverse that decision, we could keep matching light poles in downtown. It's just it's an aesthetic issue we're not going to notice until we start getting mismatched light poles, and then people are going to wondering why Lititz can't figure out which light poles we want on Main Street or Broad Street. And it's going to come back to us. So just wanted to encourage you to take a lead and find colleagues who'd be willing to join you in an effort to reach out to PPL and try to get that decision reversed.
Thank you, Todd.
Anyone else have any comments or questions this evening?
I wanted to ask, you mentioned a data center ordinance. The town's not in the crosshairs of a data center, but what does the ordinance pertain to in particular?
It's essentially putting regulations on kind of a large, like a hyperscale data center. The county has a model. Manor Township has one. I believe there's one in York. So there's several different versions that are going around. And these aren't necessarily data centers like there were 10, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
These are the ones that are like proposed down near the city.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
Yep.
So that'll be an item for discussion at the planning commission meetings over the next year.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda
So,
for next week, but
yes.
it is something.
Just take a look at the planning commission agendas. They meet the following Tuesday after council. And if it's on the agenda, and you're interested in that, I recommend you come out to that meeting. It's a great place to get to know what's going on in the community.
Sure. Any other questions? No?
Any online?
No.
No.
No questions online. I'd like to thank everyone, the council and everybody in the audience for all the good conversation this evening. I think we had a very productive meeting. So I think we just have one more matter to take care of tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done. Thank you.
Thank you all.